Hello, and thank you for watching this June 27th weather update, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I'm a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible. This past week has brought some very impactful weather to the United States. This video is from the devastating floods that hit parts of West Virginia last week. Repeated strong thunderstorms forced rivers to overrun their banks, turning streets into canals and parking lots into ponds. This house was swept away by the floodwater and burned as it moved through the flow of the muddy water. Tragically, 25 people lost their lives in this event. With these images, I want to remind you that flooding is the #1 weather-related killer in the United States for the last year, and so far this year, nearly 60 people have lost their lives. Please remember the phrase, "Turn around, don't drown." An alarming number of these fatalities we've had this year are occurring in cars that are driving through flooded roadways only to be swept away. Well, meanwhile, in California, extremely dry weather plus 120-degree heat after their rainy season ended has made them very vulnerable to forest fires. 60,000 acres have burned at the end of last week near LA, and the smoke plumes were so large they were even visible from space. So, returning our focus to ag in the heartland, last week brought several rounds of storms to the Midwest. In our previous video, we discussed how ridge-riding storms were forecast to repeatedly hit the eastern Corn Belt for last week. Some of these storms were severe. On Monday, storms in central Illinois produced nearly 70-mile-per-hour winds, which knocked down corn in Mahomet, Illinois, which is near Champaign. Then on Wednesday, several severe storms pushed from northern Illinois through Indiana, Ohio, and West Virginia, producing numerous tornado and strong wind reports. While adding all of this up, over the last 14 days, a lot of rain has accumulated in this region. What is important to see in this map is where the rain did not fall. This map shows the last 14 days of accumulated rain through last Saturday. We can see how parts of Michigan, southern Illinois, Missouri, and Iowa, as well as the border of Kansas and Nebraska and parts of eastern South Dakota, have been dry while the temperatures have been so warm. These regions are the critical spots to watch in the coming weeks for potential water stress and yield loss. Now, this map shows the rain accumulation from the storms that passed through on Saturday through early Sunday morning. While southern Illinois and eastern Missouri did see some scattered storms, it was a hit-or-miss kind of event for farmers in this area. That means many locations have been dry for nearly all of June in this area. But on Sunday, the first of two fronts passed through the eastern Corn Belt and brought widely scattered showers and storms to Illinois, Indiana, and parts of Missouri. However, again, we have to look at who was missed. Here are the radar estimated totals for Sunday in Michigan. Notice that rainfall was not widespread. The same story holds true for western and southern Illinois, eastern Missouri, and southern Iowa. These are the areas I'm watching closely for water stress as we move forward with our growing season. Well, let's look into next week. This is the total accumulated precipitation from Sunday night when I was producing this video through Wednesday night. The Corn Belt dries out this week behind a large cold front that sweeps through on Monday. There is one region to watch early this week, though, and that is central Nebraska, Kansas, and northern Oklahoma. Forecast models have been consistently predicting multiple rounds of storms sweeping through from the northwest to the southwest across these states. Each model run has moved the position of these storms a little bit, so we need to be watching the short-term forecast and the radar to see how this might impact the wheat harvest. But reports in this area have come in very high, as I have heard from one of our commodity experts, Dina, that 100 bushel per acre yields have been reported in Kansas. With the recent drier weather in this region, quality has been high, although there are some concerns over the protein content. We have certainly seen the impact these great yields have been having on wheat futures. Prices have been falling since early June on the good harvest forecast. Looking now at temperatures, the Corn Belt has endured a warm June. Here are the last 30 days of temperature anomalies. The big question we addressed in last week's video was whether this heat would continue through the end of June and the start of July. We discussed how the trough and ridge system was set up for the end of the month to cool down, and that is now finally upon us. Here's the temperatures across the United States Monday through Wednesday. We can see the influence of the frontal passage knocking temperatures out of the 90s and back into the lower 80s with cooler overnight temperatures. This embedded figure shows the temperature drop for Agrible headquarters throughout the next 8 days. We can see that after the heat comes through on Sunday and early Monday, Our temperatures then drop 3 to 5 degrees below our average and stay in the low 80 range all the way through the week. We're also going to get to see some nighttime temperatures that potentially drop into the upper 50s. We expect these cooler temperatures to hang around for some time as the jet stream remains in a broad trough across the east and more zonal flow across the west, zonal flow being from west to east. Corn planted earlier in April will be going to tassel soon, and this cooler weather is exactly what it needs. But looking out longer term, forecast models have been trending toward another round of 90-plus degree heat for the July 10 through 15 time period. Ensemble forecasts from the GFS model, the European model, and another global model called the CFSV2 have been consistently forecasting the development of a ridge in the central United States during that time period. This ridge is farther east than the ridge that introduced the heat for most of June, so it has the potential to both dry out the Corn Belt and push the heat farther east into the eastern part of the Corn Belt. Now, the precipitation forecast is always challenging this far out, so we'll have to see how the precipitation plays out. But with a large ridge like this, we can expect to see the build-in of more heat for a large section of the Corn Belt. Now, if the corn market fell so rapidly on a forecast for the cool start to July, this next round of heat may potentially help those lower prices recover if the weather is the primary driver of the market price. We're not certain at this time as to the magnitude of this heat, but one thing is certain. We have not had a ridging event like this in July for the last couple of years, and 2014 and 15 were the highest corn yielding years on record. One thing is for sure, we at Agrible will be watching this closely, as the timing of this ridge will correspond to the pollination time period for a lot of Midwestern corn. Well, as always, we at Agrible will bring you the latest and best weather forecast information through our morning farm report so that you can efficiently plan your operations. We thank you for your attention and hope you look forward to our next weather video update. Thank you.